From TNT to a classic Ferrari, we take a look at 20 of the strangest things people have found in their backyards. Number 20. Dinosaur bone. In 1997, John Lambert from Ipswich, UK, was building a fence in his backyard when he found a large and unusual bone. He thought it could be an important paleontological find, but he just put it in his shed, where the bone sat for another 16 years. Finally, in 2013, he decided to take it to Ipswich Museum, where experts, astounded, confirmed it to be the bone of a 250 million-year-old pliosaurus. But the dinosaur was not native to the English Sea, where it was found, which made the finding even more mysterious. Number 19. 200 650-year-old jewels in his backyard. In 2007, a man known only as Andreas K. from Austria was digging in his backyard to expand his small pond. While digging, the man found something unbelievable. He found a treasure trove that consisted of more than 200 rings, brooches, gold-plated silver plates, and other pieces or fragments, many encrusted with pearls, fossilized coral, and other ornaments. The objects are said to be about 650 years old and had so much dirt encrusted in them that their forms were barely visible. Number 18. Big Bag of Weed. In December 2012, in the Silver Lake neighborhood of Los Angeles, Mac Reed was preparing to install solar panels at his residence, and while opening up an underground access vault for an inspector, he made a huge discovery. Reed and the inspector found an army green bag stuffed with approximately $175,000 worth of marijuana and hash. The bag was filled with 60 jars, bags, and packages of all varieties of the herb. Number 17. 1,000-pound fossil. Back in 1978, Gary Johnson was a junior at Rolling Hills High School in Rancho Palos Verdes, California, with a keen interest in archaeology. Around that time, he noticed a large rock sticking out of the ground with a bone pattern in it. With the help of friends, he rolled the 1,000-pound rock using logs about 200 yards into his family's backyard. After chipping away shale and dirt, Johnson called in an expert to get an opinion of his find. The expert deemed the fossil not very significant, and the rock sat in the backyard for over 35 years. Although, after another expert's opinion years later, Johnson estimated the fossil to be 14 to 16 million years old. The fossil includes the jawbone and skull of a baleen whale, and is one of only 20 known specimens of fossilized baleen in the world. Number 16. Loaded machine gun. Earlier this year, a man from northeast Calgary, Canada, made a disturbing discovery in his backyard. Between his garage and the fence, he found a plastic bag containing a pillowcase. When he looked inside, to his surprise, there was a fully loaded machine gun along with a cell phone. How the gun ended up in his backyard or who it belonged to is still not clear. Number 15. Bombshelter. Chris and Colleen Otkasik bought a house in Woodland Hills, California in 2013, and were aware there was a special feature included in the backyard, a fallout shelter from the 1960s. The couple figured the shelter was just a hole in the ground, but the hole turned out to be a time capsule. Built in 1961 during the height of the Cold War by nuclear engineer Alvin Kaufman, the shelter was perfectly preserved. The shelter supplies were still completely intact and included aluminum foil, tissues, sleeping pills, cans of multi-purpose food, and eroding cans of coffee. Number 14. Cursed money. In 2011, a man named Wayne Sabaj from Illinois was picking broccoli in his backyard garden when he found $150,000 stashed in a nylon bag. Worried that the money came from a robbery and he would be charged, Sabaj turned the money over to police with the understanding that if the money wasn't claimed by anyone else by the end of 2012, it would be his to keep. Both an 87-year-old neighbor, Dolores Johnson, and a Naperville liquor store owner stepped up and attempted to claim in the money. Johnson, who suffered from dementia and died the following January, claimed she had gotten rid of the money because it was cursed, according to the court records. A judge ultimately gave Johnson's daughter the bulk of the money, with a portion of it set to go to Sabaj as a reward. However, Sabaj, the man who once said that he spent his last $10 on cigarettes, died 10 days before receiving his share. Wayne Sabaj's father, Kevin, received the money, but not before he went into cardiac arrest upon learning about his son's death. Number 13. 1,000-year-old Native American remains. Earlier in 2014, A Salt Lake City homeowner was trying to dig a pond in his backyard for a landscaping project when he made a gruesome discovery: bones. Although the bones seemed to be human, the homeowner wasn't entirely sure what they were and called the local police department. Police sent the bones to the state medical examiner, where they ran further tests. Results concluded that the bones were not of a recent murder, but once belonged to a Native American who lived in Utah about 1,000 years ago. Number 12. 400-year-old church bells. In 2013, a man from Czech Republic was digging up his backyard to install some pipes when he stumbled across unusual metal objects. After excavation, he found out it was 2 large church bells about 400 years old. Later, it turned out that the bells were stolen 11 years earlier from a nearby church. The thief who buried them might have attempted to hide them, but for some reason, didn't get to retrieve them. Number 11. Meteorites. The chances of you finding a piece of a meteorite in your backyard is pretty small, let alone a meteorite hitting your yard 6 times in a row. But that is exactly what happened to a Serbian man living in a little village in northern Bosnia. It looks like the man's property, for some reason, attracts space rocks. The man even thinks that it might be aliens trying to bombard his house for some odd reason. Number 10. Mastodon vertebrae. 2 boys named Eric and Andrew from Detroit, Michigan, were building a dam in the creek that flows through their backyard when Eric saw a strange-looking rock sticking up from the ground. Supposing it might have been a bone, the family called in a paleontologist, John Zawiski, at the Cranbrook Institute of Science in Bloomfield Hills, who later authenticated the bone as a vertebrae from a mastodon, some 13,000 years old. Number 9. Ancient stone. When an amateur historian, Stephen Davis from England, was researching the history of his own home, he came across a reference to an ancient stone that was thought to have marked a burial plot from the Bronze Age, dating back to about 2500 BC. According to the description found in the historical documents, Davis began to search for the stone. After some time, he found the stone in his backyard, completely covered with ivy. At the time of the find, the Historic Buildings and Monuments Commission for England was expected to pronounce the stone a scheduled ancient monument. Number 8. Famous actress. In 1996, then 47-year-old Canadian-born actress Margaret Kidder, the spunky Lois Lane in the Superman movies, was found in someone's backyard in Glendale, California. The actress, who was battling health and financial problems at the time, had been missing for 3 days before she was found. According to the police, she was frightened and paranoid, wearing dirty clothes and missing some teeth. She was later diagnosed with bipolar disorder and placed in psychiatric care, where she made a complete recovery. Number 7. World War II bombs. Thousands of homes have been built over a 12,000-acre area that was once a World War II bombing range in Orlando, Florida. The first bomb was discovered in 1998 near the running track of a local middle school. Since then, over 100 rockets and bombs have been found on the school property and in backyards of nearby housing developments. Even though the Army Corps of Engineering have launched a large-scale cleanup of the area, the danger of stumbling across a bomb left behind is still pretty high. Number 6. Mammoth bone. In 2010, a family from Iowa was picking fruit in their wooded backyard when they saw a white object sticking out of the ground. After digging it out, they found out it was a femur. Scientists from a local university later identified it as a 12,000-year-old woolly mammoth bone. When paleontologists came to the site, they soon discovered more bones, with only the mammoth skull missing. Number 5. 1700s cemetery. When Vincent Marcello from New Orleans, Louisiana, decided to dig up a plot in his backyard for a swimming pool, he ended up discovering a historic cemetery that dates back to the 1700s. The workers unearthed 13 caskets with human remains. However, it was not the first time bodies have been discovered underground in the area. In 1984, 36 corpses were found when an apartment complex was being built. Number 4. Grenades and TNT explosives. In May 2013, a 39-year-old man from the Czech Republic wanted to dig out some tree stumps in his backyard when he noticed there was something under them. Disturbed by the unexpected finding, he called the police. After excavating the mysterious objects, they found out that the man's backyard contained tens of hand grenades and several TNT explosives from the Second World War. Number 3. Gold nugget. A Californian man armed with a metal detector and a shovel discovered an 8.2-pound lump of gold in his backyard in 2011. Thanks to its extraordinary size, the nugget was sold at auction for an incredible $460,000. The lucky finder of the nugget remained anonymous to prevent a literal gold rush onto his property. Geologists said the likelihood that there is more gold on that land is 100%, so the Californian may spend the rest of his life digging up his backyard. Number 2. A classic Ferrari. In 1978, two kids from Los Angeles decided to pass the time by digging in their own backyard. To their utter amazement, they found a Dino 246 GTS Ferrari. With the help of local police officers and a small crew of men, the car was excavated. After a bit of investigating, it was discovered that the car was stolen 4 years earlier and buried in the yard by the thieves. Why was the car buried in the first place? It's believed to have been an insurance scam. The thieves were to allegedly destroy the vehicle, but loved it so much they buried it and intended to retrieve it from the ground at a later date. The new proud owner of the Ferrari apparently sports a license plate that reads, "Dug Up." Number 1. The couple who found $10 million in coins on their property. An unidentified couple were walking their dog on their property one day in 2013 when they saw the top of a rusty canister poking out of the ground. The canister contained a bunch of gold discs, which they took inside after brushing the dirt off. They were almost perfectly preserved $20 gold coins, dating back to the 1890s. It's believed this is the biggest hoard of gold coins ever unearthed in the United States, and is valued at over $10 million. The couple decided to remain anonymous, fearing treasure hunters would rip up their land and take their gold. This has got to be one of the strangest things people have found in their backyards.